Good morning. This is the Board of County Commissioners Board Work Session. It is Wednesday, September 20th, 2023. It is 10:02 a.m. This session is set to go until 11 a.m. This is a hybrid meeting. We're at 3000 Pacific Avenue, Southeast, room 110. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. To my right is Vice Chair Ty Menser. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards. Also in the boardroom, we have Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell and Assistant County Manager Rob Gelder. And today we will be discussing the Impact Report Review WSU Master Gardener 50th Anniversary Highlight, Master Gardener Foundation of Thurston County 25th Anniversary Highlight Briefing. And we have a room full of welcome guests that are joining us here this morning. And we also have some elves joining us here in the back as well. Elves, gnomes? Gnomes, okay. And a pollinator as well. We're going to pass it to Stephen.
Yes.
And then we can do introductions around the table and get started.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Commissioner Mejia. And I don't think, maybe the first slide. Start the...
So it's there if you go ahead and share screen.
Okay.
That one.
Hard to.
There it is. All right. It's like morning yoga. Well, thank you so much for having us out. My name is Stephen Bramwell. I'm the Extension Director for Thurston County WSU Extension. And then I have a second hat as the Agriculture Program Coordinator. Today, you've got kind of a two-part presentation. We'll do some introductions, but we're gonna really feature the Master Gardener, Master Recycler Composter Program. And we're very fortunate to have Corey Carlton in attendance, and she'll introduce her presenters, co-presenters, but Corey Carlton is the program coordinator for the Master Gardener, Master Recycler Composter Program. And it's a special event because it's the 50th anniversary. Corey will tell you all about that. And we have such a wonderful group of volunteers to come out and support the occasion. So very big thanks to them for showing up and being present and bringing the fun. So that's what volunteer programs are all about, getting good work done, but also having fun so that people show up. And Corey always reminds me, always saying thank you. So thank you for being here. And then we'll focus on the second half of the presentation on a little broader look at programs within Extension. And we'll do sort of a high level impact report and then allow you to ask any questions any deeper. And you have copies of the impact report and some other materials, including seeds for the 50th anniversary and pancake mix. So we can talk more about that. So without further ado, thank you for inviting us, and I'll turn it over to Corey.
All right, so welcome and thank you for having us be here today. Again, I represent two hats in the program and a couple of my slides here, but I'd like to first introduce who I have to my side here. This is our Vice President of our Master Gardener Foundation of Thurston County, Pam Lovinger. Hi. And then we also have our Treasurer, Lucy Chafin here, that also is part of the board that governs this nonprofit 501c3 that we have as part of our partnership with our programs. So we'll get into them in just a second, but I just want to keep going on. For today's presentation, I am just going to focus on the two anniversary parts of it, even though we're a three-part program. Again, Master Gardeners and the Master Recycler Composter Program. Master Gardeners is through Washington State University, and then Master Recycler Composter Program is through the county-based program. I am a county employee, but I represent on both parties from there. And then our third arm is our foundation, which we'll get to in just a minute. But I really want to focus today's presentation on the 50th and the 25th, which is why we're here today. So on that note,
Just, I think, use the roller.
sorry. There we are. Okay, so there's, again, that represents all of us, an extension there, so you can kind of see. Those are the other programs that Stephen's also going to be talking about later on from there. But today, for today's presentation, as I just said, these two programs there. All right, so this is a little, I did provide this org chart just so that you kind of see where Extension and our programming fits in with the county. I think when we come and you have a group presentation, you're like, how does this really affect me, or where do I fit into this bigger picture? So I do want to say, just for the sake of using this, here you are, the county here. I don't know if you can see that or not. Maybe it's better here. Nope. Okay, so county, if you look on the right side there, Thurston County, we've got two departments, CPED and Public Works. With Public Works, as we know, solid waste and the Waste and Recovery Center are beneath that. They're connected to the Master Recycler or Composter Program. There's a correlation there. We have Closed Loop Park Demonstration Garden, also located at the WARC, and that's why we're connected there. So then with that, you'll see the Master Recycler Composters there, and they have they have another lower arm, which is the volunteers there. And they're also connected to our foundation. Even though our name of our foundation is Master Gardener Foundation of Thurston County, they represent both the Master Gardeners and the Master Recycler Composters for both. So if you go back up to Thurston County, you see CPED. If you look over to the left of that, you'll see WSU Extension of Thurston County. That's our local county branch of the extension. But then you can look to, keep on going left, you'll see statewide extension. And that is where we're part of, but also part of the college as well as the university. So if you kind of look as we're going up. Extension there also has all the other programs that Stephen's gonna also talk about later, but then if you go down from the statewide program, there's actually a statewide Master Gardener program. We're connected that level because they provide us the curriculum and a lot of in-kind services. All of our training materials, all of that comes from the statewide program. And they also have a separate nonprofit 501c3 foundation that helps support them, which the big thing that they are supporting is our upcoming statewide advanced education conference, which has happened next week in Tacoma. They picked Tacoma because the fact that that's where the Master Gardener program started 50 years ago. And so we're going back to that facility, and there'll be statewide celebrations for all Master Gardeners across the state. So if you move back over from our statewide level back to us locally, then again, there's the Master Gardener program and then volunteers. And then I'm kind of in the middle where I kind of deviate between all of those and make sure I figure out which hat I have on at the time. And then I'm also a representative, again, of the WSU side, the county side, as well as our nonprofit 501c3. I think that gives a little bit of context so you can understand kind of when I talk about these groups, where we're coming from. Okay, moving right along. So for the rest of the presentation, we're going to talk about the actual volunteers that are here in the room. So who are we? We are trained volunteers who share information in horticulture on environmental stewardship to the communities throughout our clinics, our demonstration gardens, and our local partnerships. We train them so that they can learn research-based information. That is really a critical piece to our programming. They just don't Google whatever comes up and then shares that with the citizens of Thurston County. So in that case, it's really that critical piece is that we're providing science-based education for improvements there. They use their skills to make a difference in their community. All of them are trained even in their own skill sets of how they connect with our local community members, from conversations over the fence, with their neighbor, to larger types of events as well. And they grow the gardeners themselves as well as they are helping each other. And ultimately, with any volunteer program, they wouldn't be in a program if they weren't having fun and enjoying it. So that's always the critical part of the recipe for volunteer excitement. The 50th anniversary itself was created here, and when I say here, in Washington State in King and Pierce counties back in 1973. In 1972, the ag agents for King and Pierce counties were getting over 800 phone calls a week that they could not keep up from gardeners' questions. What's wrong with this plant? Why can't I plant this? All of those kind of things. And they were just like, we need to maybe train and actually get some extra help in here that we could train on more common gardening practices that are kind of cyclical, that happen every year at this kind of time. The weather might change, you might have an outbreak of this. And so they figured, let's train volunteers in order to answer those questions, and then they could be freed up to answer basically all the strange stuff. And so that's exactly what happened. They put an ad in the paper in the Seattle Times, and they end up having over, 600 applicants, and 200 of them actually were in the first training class. We actually have one of the attendees was actually in part of the second training class up there. So James is there. So he's again been in the program a long period of time from there, as well as our own local programming here as well. And so at that point, it started in '73. It then kind of moved around and kind of started to gain momentum. It kept on growing here in Washington State, and eventually has gone national and now international. There are Master Gardener programs in England, South Korea as well, and so they keep growing from there, in Canada as well. So they keep moving through. Statewide, we have 4,000 volunteers. Over 330 hours of service annually is recorded, and upward of 3,000 in their neighborhoods just talking to those contacts and sharing that good science-based information, as well as donating over 60,000 pounds to our local food banks. We do have program priorities there. These are statewide priorities that our Master Gardener programs, our core function is, and that's on wildfire preparedness, water conservation, nearby nature, pollinators, clean water, local food, soil health, plant biodiversity, and climate change. And so these are and when we do our education, these are the core principles where all of our gardening information is stemmed from. Here locally, our local program started here in 1980. So even though the program started in 1973, our first training class was in 1980. And one of our longtime emeritus volunteers, Mary Boston, is still, she's an emeritus volunteer, but she took the training in 1982. So we do have a long history, and then we have all the volunteers that have since then gone through the program over the years. And here, we just did a part of our training video. So next week, there's going to be a video played at the state conference, and each of the counties was asked to have their photo or their video. And so we met here at a local park here, and we did our little sign so that way we could say cheers to 50 years from the Thurston County Master Gardeners. So we'll be part of that long standing video that's going to be part of that advanced education conference. Some numbers for you. Of course, any presentation needs to have numbers, and so we've got some numbers here for you. Our records from 1980 to 2008 are very disjointed. A lot of it we find bits and pieces of information in file paper boxes, but nothing electronic, as we all know from there. So I really took the information that we have here since when I started. So my first training class was in 2009. So that was when I first came to the county as far as for my program managerial training classes. And from this slide, you can see just in my tenure, I've trained 580 volunteers throughout the training program just for Master Gardeners alone. And with those volunteers, they have given over 207,000 hours of service since 2009. In 2022, our service hours were 17,899 hours, which if you put the national volunteer dollar figure to that, it relates to about nine employees, full-time employees from there. And in 2023, we have 180 active Master Gardeners serving in our program. And then MRCs also have, which are, again, the acronym for Master Recycler Composter Program. So we have those numbers as well. With that program, I did just give a presentation to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee on the stats, but also the accomplishments that the Master Recycler Composter Program has provided. So if you're interested in learning that half of the program, you can just check out the SWAC meeting there, and I gave updates from that just earlier this month. Okay, so one of our core functions as being the program itself, we have kind of three major areas. One being our question answer clinics. Prior to the pandemic, our question answer clinics were in person. In the pandemic, we hybridized, and now we offer virtual as well as in person. So in person came back, but we also kept the virtual as well. And so now we're managing questions from residents of Thurston County, in both formats. Last year, we had over 12,000 inquiries just within our program, whether that's in person or whether or not that's virtual through our online question answer clinic that we offer. So they can email us a question of any time, anytime, day or night. We have a general email that goes into our question answer inbox. The volunteers from their homes can log in and see what the question are, do some research, and then once a week we meet as a group on Zoom and we have a discussion about the more difficult questions. And that where we can collaborate a little bit and come up with the best answer based on the things that they may not know necessarily on their own. Again, this is a free service, and that's why, again, we get those 12,000 contact hours each year, just because of clients asking, okay, I've read, and I would say really what's kind of changed is the internet has kind of progressed. Early on, they contacted us just for an answer. Now what we've seen the question is more of, okay, I've done some research online. Can you confirm this is the answer to this problem? So they're wanting us to verify what they've kind of done online, just because they're still, again, skeptic about some of the information which there is. There's a lot of incorrect information out on the internet. So I kind of seen how the clinic has kind of evolved with us, and now we train in that format as how we educate our training in there.
Can I ask, like, some examples of some of the questions that are asked in these,
Kind of questions?
yeah.
Everything from I want to grow food, like I've just, have a container there and I would like to grow some from edible crops, to everything like what's wrong with my roses, or landscape. The other one, we've got a lot of that, I'm on a slope. I have sandy soil, like what do I do from this? Arborists, the gamut of, you name it. Is there any from the clinic crew here? Any other topics you think? Oh, disease, yes, disease is another big one. Anything else from their crew? Deer, yes. Yes.
Caterpillars.
Oh, yeah.
This time of year.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, a wide variety there. And we do track it, so I can also provide that information later if you're curious.
Can I ask real quick, on your last slide, you said 180 volunteers in 2023. Is that a high, a low, kind of average for the program? I know pandemic probably disrupted things in some.
Correct. We did lose volunteers through the pandemic. So I would say right now, we're average between both groups, I'm at between 200 and 250 usually. Right now, there's 48 MRCs, so if you look at 180 with MRCs from there, I'm kind of in that range still. But we did lose some master gardeners from there, but then we also just had a training class of 35. So each year we do train, and so that's one of the things with all volunteer programs is that volunteers leave each year, volunteers come into the program each year. And so that's why I train master gardeners in the spring, and I train master recycler composters here in the fall. So in fact, tomorrow is our first day of training a new group of volunteers for that volunteer program.
Do you have that, is it like on YouTube as well as in person?
The training?
Yes.
It's a hybrid, so some of the classes are online, some of them are in person. But overall, they do have an in-person component that's required just because we do a lot of hands-on field.
But if people miss something, can they find it on YouTube, I guess I'm gonna just say?
Not on YouTube, but we do have once you're accepted into the
Do you have
training
some
program.
archives or something?
Yes, so we record the classes and they have a password-protected
Okay.
training webpage that they go in and can watch the.
So somebody might miss a segment, they can make it up.
They can make it up.
somehow. Good.
Yep, so we do record that. So they don't have to be in person for every session, so there is ability. But for our field trips, that's where, for us, virtual, you can only do so much, and really the hands-on learning is the part where I think connects it. And then also the other part about a volunteer program, you need to connect with each other. And that was really difficult. We didn't train for we had to stop training in 2020, and then we didn't have one in 2021. 2022 was our first one, and it was still challenging trying to get that balance between people feeling safe to be in a classroom again or outside at the garden, which we end up rotating more stuff outside just because people felt safer out there. And still to this day, it's kind of a balance. So I will highlight real quick the clinics there. We just did one. The first question answer clinic was at the Tacoma Mall right shortly after the program started. And so we duplicated here by going and actually having a table booth at the Capitol Mall here for 2 weekends earlier in the spring. And that was a fabulous event just because we reached a whole different audience that had no idea who we even were. And so it was nice to duplicate that first question answer clinic. The one thing we commented about, if you look at the history pictures, everyone back in 1973 when they had the question answer clinic were all in suits and ties and dresses with their disease plants at the Tacoma Mall. And so for them, they're like, we don't have to dress up, do we? I'm like, no. So they wore their logoed gear, but they didn't necessarily have to wear their suits and ties and dresses, which I think was kind of the time, that was the norm. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to look back 50 years from there. And so there's a picture of the volunteers there at the mall earlier from there. Okay, we'll keep going here. We also have our demonstration gardens where we do science-based education via workshops, and our workshops, we do virtual ones, but we also do in-person ones. And so these are some of the classes that we've done in the past, composting and hugelkultur and straw bale gardening, all kinds of things to meet people at different areas of what they have. You can still garden if you are on a balcony or in a townhouse, like where I live, where my front porch is 3 feet by 3 feet, and yet I still can do my part as far as to grow food for myself or process my own food waste via worms. Or if they don't have that space, then you also have, or acreage, all the way up until acreage in between. So we really serve the entire gamut, and everyone thinks, well, you're a master gardener, I must have to have, a lot or a house to do that. Nope. We encourage all kinds of abilities in order to garden there. The other thing we want to do is definitely teach our next generation. So yesterday was our last children's garden program at our Dirtworks demonstration garden. We offer a free program to all kids ages 4 through 12. And yesterday we did worms. So we put the worms to bed for the winter time. And so the coolest part I think about yesterday is that we actually got to see baby worms hatching out of the cocoons. And they were losing their minds. So it was just a great day, a great way to kind of end the season. So
Do you work with our juvenile folks, with those young people that are?
we haven't. Grub has been a main point of contact for them, and we partner with them as well, but not necessarily at the juvenile center yet. That might be another
Well,
future partnership.
they're trying to do something similar to this, so.
Yeah,
might
that would be a
worth
good
looking into.
good connection. Okay, thank you for that. Next, again, I talked a little bit about our gardens itself, that we use these as educational spaces. And there are 3 here in our county. We have Closed Loop Park, which is located at the Waste and Recovery Center. Next year, Closed Loop will be 30 years. So it's been there as a garden there for 30 years. And we were, again, there's some interesting tidbits. We're trying to figure out, fact-checked it to see whether or not we were the first or the second garden ever to be built on a closed landfill. And so we're in the process of trying to get some fact checking with that. But that being said, we've been in existence 30 years at Closed Loop Park. Dirtworks is on City Olympia property, and that's in Yager Park. Next year, they'll be celebrating 35 years of that garden is in existence. And we're also putting a 50th anniversary time capsule in at Dirtworks too. So we're going to be collecting information from this year, putting it into the garden there as a way to commemorate the 50th anniversary. And then the Olympia Farmers Market, Galachi Gardens there is going to be celebrating 29 years, and that's the small garden just adjacent to the Farmers Market downtown. So those are the 3 spaces where the volunteers manage. So they're the ones that are out there maintaining it. And if you want to see some devastating, crazy pictures, is look at what the gardens look like when they weren't allowed to be in the garden and when we were able to come back into those spaces. And I took pictures from before and after. So you can definitely tell the work that they do and how much time and energy it does take to maintain these spaces, because when they weren't, it looked like a jungle. So it was absolutely amazing. So all of these gardens also help with capital improvement projects. And the one that we're working on right now in conjunction with the foundation is our irrigation project upgrade. So we're working on upgrading our irrigation system for all of these gardens. As we know, as just said, their age of these gardens, 25, 30 years, the infrastructure for these gardens, the irrigation needs update, as well as we're going to be using this as a way to teach homeowners and other residents there how to manage their irrigation systems using this new technology that we're implementing at these gardens.
Hey, Corey.
Yeah.
I know it's smaller, but does the fairgrounds have a garden?
There we go. Segue right here. So partner gardens are here. These are some of the ones that we do more are closely related. We also have other additional partners. We help out, let's say, at the Tenino school garden there for the food bank there. We also have partnership with the Rainier garden as well. So a lot of our volunteers help out in gardens that are closer to their homes. But the 3 gardens that are here at the fairgrounds, we, on behalf of the Longwells, they had their vision here as far as implementing the pollinator garden. Hence, we have our pollinator education is really a critical piece for us moving forward as volunteers. We also have the Echo Garden there, as well as we have a small extension garden that they also maintain, and it is a highlight of, I think, of the fairgrounds in that education piece there as far as our partners. So, okay, we're getting close on time, so we're gonna keep going. I have 2 last slides here. So the last thing, what's next? The big partnership I would say that's coming down the pipeline is that we have new volunteer training coming up. So after November 1st, residents can find our 2024 Master Gardener training information on our webpage. This is a photo of this last year's training class. They graduate in June, so they start in January and they train till June. It's over 70 hours of instruction that the volunteers receive. Tomorrow, we start for a Master Recycler Composter program. We train all the way through November for them. So each year, tomorrow will be on Thursday nights and Saturdays, and Master Gardener trainings are on Fridays. So that's kind of, we're getting prepared for that, as well as all of our other duties. But the most, I think, cool partnership that just happened, Jeff and Stephanie Schilter from Schilter's Farm contacted me back in June to want to honor the Master Gardener program. And so they have cut their corn maze in the shape of the logo of the Master Gardener 50th anniversary. So from the aerial view, this is what it's gonna look like.
It is going to, or it does look
It
like
will be.
this now?
So by next week, it will be. And so they will start on September 30th through October 30th. We are gonna get some drone work done so we can get some aerial pictures there as well. But, so what happened is the master gardeners, and the master recycler composters have been working together. Along the pathways of the actual corn maze are going to be garden tips and facts all along the way. And then in the center part, right along the 50 there, you'll see that there's 5 petals. Each of those petals are gonna have a container garden display, which the corn maze participants can vote on which their favorite. But they also have gardening tips, and also, we have some fun facts about, the different harvesting, and also some jokes, because we know that kids are also a part of there, so we have a ton of pun jokes also available there. And then they get to vote on that, and then, as they exit, they also learn about how to connect with our programs here locally. So we are extremely, happy about this partnership. It's a very unique one. No one has ever done a corn maze shape, to recognize, the Master Gardener program before, and we were completely, honored and excited about this opportunity. So, we hope that everybody will come out to visit that. So, that's what's happening there. Everything that I've said now transitions into our last 3 slides, which is, about our Master Gardener Foundation of Thurston County that represents both of us. Again, anything that I've just talked about could not be done without the support also of the foundation here. They are a separate nonprofit 501c3, and I'm gonna turn it over to Pam and Lucy.
Hi, again, I'm Pam Lovinger, Vice President of the foundation. And we have a very active board. Lucy Chafin is our treasurer, 6-member active board that manages the foundation. As Corey mentioned, we're a nonprofit, and our primary mission is to raise funds to support the programs, the 2 programs, both Master Gardener and Master Recycler Composter. We also provide education, gardening education for the community. And anyone can join the foundation. So Corey's mentioned a little bit about the Master Gardener training, which is fantastic training. But we also have people who come in from other counties and such and want to join the foundation, and that's just $10 a year. So it's a complete bargain if you want to join. You get access to fellow gardeners. There's a community of gardeners and resources along with that. And also we do a lot with speakers. And sometimes we actually do field trips too, as well, going to gardens in Western Washington. Next slide. The foundation Corey has 180 members of the Master Gardener program. We have 172 in the foundation, so it is a separate membership process. And our board meets monthly. We have general membership meetings every other month, and those typically we have an expert speaker that comes in. It's over Zoom, and everyone's welcome to attend. And our gardeners, our 172 great people who volunteer, are always at the ready, and you can see just the willingness of people. It's amazing how much people step up. We have active committees, so we have a current website with a web committee. We have a communications committee. We have a publicity committee. We have membership committee. Our publicity committee does things like, gets us, announces events on Thurston Talk and whatnot, so we get the word out to the community that these things are available. Let's see, now I think it's Lucy's turn to go over the next slide.
Should she advance the slide?
Yeah.
Okay, oh, there we go, that's it. I'm Lucy Chaffin. I've been the treasurer for about 2 years, and so I'm gonna just tell you briefly how we raise money. Jaeger Park, where Dirtworks is, you can see the nursery on the left. Volunteers propagate many, many plants. And we also accept many donations. If you have plants that you're splitting in your own garden, or you moving a plant and it's not gonna work, we get tons of donations from our foundation members. And then we sell plants from April through the mid-October, twice a month, 2nd and 4th Mondays. That's primarily our largest fundraising event. We also have a grant raising committee. Donna's in the audience. She's done a great job of getting local grants, and 2 of our regular funders happen to be the Squaxin and Nisqually tribes. And they, most recently, there's some raised beds there, raised tables we bought with one of those grants to get the plants up so they're easy to see for customers. We do fundraising events. We just had an event with Marian Benetti. She did a Zoom, very wonderful presentation called The Garden Opera. It was great. So anybody can attend that too. You don't have to be a member, and it's in the fall, usually the 3rd Thursday of September or 3rd, yeah. We sell tools. We have a committee that does retail, so tools, and we have a handicraft committee that makes really cool garden art and like stepping stones that are made with mosaics. They're just beautiful. And anybody can shop, they're all online. Our inventory of those things are online. Right now, they're not selling in person handicrafts because we're going to the education conference and they're trying to get stock ready. They also,
Also for Christmas, they're,
Yeah.
you know, going around to Christmas bazaars.
we have our clothing items that are only for members. And we have no paid staff. So all of these people put in just so many hours and hours and hours to make this happen. Our major expenses are supporting the programs, Master Gardener and Master Recycler programs. Water for the garden is a big one. Our tools, supplies, and equipment for the gardens, and then staff development. We pay for Corey's conferences and training and travel to get there. We're insured, we have liability insurance, and we also insure the contents of our sheds and the sheds that are on site. We have no office. We do have a storage unit, so. And then lastly, I just wanna highlight the areas of the growth for our board, is diversifying our membership and our board. As the community has changed, we are looking that we need to change a bit too. And we're gonna work on the outreach to more diverse community members, and one of the events that we participated in, you saw, was at the mall. And I think that was a whole new audience that I've been exposed to as a master gardener, so it met our goal, and trying to reach out to a different set of people who might become master gardeners or might join our foundation, either one. So if you have any questions about the fundraising aspect and the money, I guess I'm your person.
Any questions about the foundation at
Yes.
all?
Do you coordinate some of your activity with the Conservation District?
Yes. Partners, Grub, Conservation District, a lot of our community partners.
Native plant.
Yeah, Native Plant Salvatore, which is part of us as well, but yeah. But yes, those
Are we
entities.
open for questions right now? Can I follow up with that? Do you, you've been in business 50 years, so are you adjusting to the times? I'm gonna just like marijuana growing or something. I don't know if that-
No.
Is that in there yet?
Unfortunately, that's not something we can comment or address. We do get questions from.
Because you get federal money or
Correct.
something like that, so.
So until it's passed federally, we're not allowed to answer those questions. There are certain rules and regs that they are not allowed to answer, and marijuana is one.
Okay, and how about like, I don't know, there's a couple of new technology farmers in the community that, I don't know, dead fish and molasses, and you mix it up, make fertilizer, but does that sound familiar to?
So home remedies.
It's like a Korean farming.
Regenerative farming.
So home remedies for us is also another area that we don't comment on. So we list on our website what things that master gardeners are not necessarily allowed to engage with. And with home remedies, it has to be science-based. And so when it goes back to that, that's where we have to make sure that whatever those ingredients that we use are actually scientifically proven duplicated time and time and again to get the same result. And what happens is when you do home remedies at home, you're mixing concoctions of stuff at home. It isn't necessarily something that can be reproduced or maybe is effective or actually has adverse effects that they don't know about. So for example, I'll just give you one that actually happened real quick, because we're already time for that, but somebody had contacted us about frustration with slugs. So they just read online that they could just put salt all over their yard and it will kill off the slugs. Well, not only that, they ruin their soil. So that was one of the things where we had to make sure that, again, we're using science-based information, and everything that you have on there isn't necessarily truthful.
There's a gentleman out at Yelm, Farmer Uber or something like that we were dealing with here a while back.
Farmer Ayub.
What was it?
Farmer Ayub.
Ayub, that's what it was. And he's got some, I don't know, new processes of
Yeah.
composting but you don't get involved in that until it's actually been through that scientific review, is that it?
Correct. So, and that's not to say WSU isn't advancing new technology. They are, and new science along the way, but it has to be done in a fashion that follows procedures rather than necessarily just haphazardly putting things together to maybe it works and maybe it doesn't.
And things like pollinators or something. Out of Evergreen, there's one of the professors has been working on something about mushroom moisture helps honeybees handle stress, or
We don't do experimental stuff.
you don't do any of
No,
that kind
no,
of stuff?
We maintain, you know, what WSU has approved is sort of
Okay,
the line
I'm
that
just
we
trying to
follow.
get a handle on
Right.
where you fit in the whole scheme of things.
But we do trial things. For example, Closed Loop Park had, for years, was trialing plants on behalf of the bigger, community, which means they would give us plants, we would plant it in there, we'd see how they do and report back to an organization that, would put together best practices for plant choices. So we would know the fact that, hey, this one here took over a whole bunch of this bed. It's not something we recommend. It was really difficult to manage afterwards. So that's not gonna be on the recommendation list. So we do part of that process, but we're not in this kind of bigger picture where we leave it to, again, the university and also the partners. I wouldn't say, again, WSU Extension isn't only this, it's all the other universities and also gurus in their field. For example, there's Xerces Society out of Portland that we use heavily for pollinators and for also insect in there. Even though they're a separate nonprofit, they are highly regarded just in their science base that they use. So we partner with science-based education in order to get that information out, whether it's us or somebody else.
Alternatives on pollinators, like honeybees are having a hard time
Correct.
right now, so.
Plenty of
you have to come up
pollinators.
with
Yeah, bats.
other problems, or
all the
other
others.
solutions, I guess.
Yep, most definitely.
One last thing I forgot to mention is that every fall, we produce a calendar that's for sale for $10. And all the pictures are taken by Master Gardener Foundation members, so.
And
they're
this year it features all the different pollinators.
pollinators.
Yeah.
So the plant, on here, it'll tell you what this pollinator is, and it's really beautiful, actually, so.
Would you like to take a look?
And
Yeah,
it's
I would.
available on our website
Matter of fact, I'd
soon.
probably buy one if you had a current one.
Ralph, did you bring
Okay,
in?
so we need to transition.
Well, thank you.
Okay,
We need to transition.
questions?
Thank you.
Okay. But yeah, if you have calendars, I'm interested in where are they available?
They're on our website,
Okay.
but I can bring a couple over for you guys.
Well, I will transition now, thank you, Commissioner Media, to the sort of second leg of the presentation. So we'll just do a little bit of an overview of the overall extension programs. It says 2022, a lot of the programs are similar from year to year, so it's not like this is not timely information. I just want to mention hearing for all the detailed information about the Master Gardener and Recycler Composter programs that it's nice with these opportunities with the board to go sort of deep and narrow versus wide and shallow. So having the Master Gardeners and Recycler Composters come in really allows you to see, you know, the breadth of the people that are working on the program, the real complexity of managing it, as Corey showed in the diagram, as well as the relationship with not only the foundation, but all the community organizations. So there's so much to each of these programs. So as I dance across the top of the next four programs, the intent is shallow and wide, so you can just get a little bit of an update on where we're at. But really know that, you know, each of these programs could be talked about in a similar way that we've talked about the Master Gardener Recycler program. They each have their own sets of community partners, funding lines, grant sources, and all that kind of value that leverages your investment as a county in WSU Extension. Each of these is equally deep. So Corey mentioned at the beginning what our additional programs are, but SNAP Ed, 4-H, right? Water resources, native plant salvage, and then of course, I'm in the agriculture program when I take my county director hat off. So the funding is this kind of three-legged stool. So these first couple slides are just more thematic around how the relationship works. You're part of a relationship that includes both the state and the federal government, each contributing a financial component to the sustenance of these programs. So we get funding through USDA Farm Bill, that's at the federal level, that comes down through Smith-Lever, started in 1914, that kind of put this three-legged funding relationship together that funds extension in every county and in every state across the whole country. Each state's got a land grant institution. Well, ours is WSU, that's the home for extension within the state of Washington. But then of course we have our county offices, of course, which we represent Thurston County here. At the state level, there's the funding request that goes in every couple of years for the particular biennium. So we're in a 23 to 25 budget, I think, right now, and then that funds that kind of the third leg of faculty and staff and programmatic implementation for WSU as a university, and then the extension program specifically. One thing that we really bring back to the university all the time is how valuable the county funding relationship is to the university. You do so much as being an anchor to keep the overall extension program viable throughout the state. So don't ever, always press us, press me to know what kind of value you're getting out of the program. Because that's our goal. Without that county local support, the extension model does not function. You are in this community and we're here to kind of work in this community with you, so. And it's a
Steve,
pleasure to be here, yeah.
are you working with the university as far as this upcoming Schiltner's deal? I mean, I think that Mays thing, I think you ought to have the school over here doing something. I don't know, that's a heck of a PR shot.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Corey's
already
reached
been
out to all the Connors Communications, and I say
Okay.
that's College of Ag, Human and Natural Resources, so up at the state level.
We
Yeah,
had to
they
get
get very-
approved, we had to get their approval in order for that to happen.
Yeah.
Bureaucrats get in the middle of everything.
We always, yeah, but they're very excited. You're correct, Commissioner Edwards. It's a really good opportunity. Just at the high level, I always like to emphasize the value we bring back. And this diagram isn't meant to in any way indicate that, oh, we're matching with so much more than you provide. It's more like we love bringing back additional value to help make your dollar go as far as it possibly can. And Corey mentioned the 9 full-time employee equivalent that is associated with all the volunteer hours just within the Master Gardener program. So the county on average each year supports a budget. When you look at both the in-kind as well as the direct contributions, like we have an office, we have computers, we have support from IT, right around $539,000. On the WSU side, that $1 million figure can be broken into 2 parts. Some of it, about half of it really, if we just kept it general, is in direct support through salaries and benefits for program staff. That's about 500. And then, we always, I'm sure you're familiar with this, whenever you ever get a service from another part of the division, you buy part of somebody else's time. So when we add up the rest of me and my budget, buying parts of people's time at the university, supporting us in various ways, I get support in putting in grants, grant review, contract management, all those sorts of things. That's about another 500. So that's where those 2 pieces come together for the $1 million. And then that last bit, both of those 2 parts add up to the half, 500,000. Then the other half of that $1 million is in grants. So locally, we match what WSU puts in 500,000, both direct and in kind. And we go out locally actually and get grants. So the grant writing committee within Master Gardeners, I'm very active in the agriculture program, developing funds. And then of course our other programs, SNAP Ed, 4-H, Master in this Native Plant Salvage program are all really active. So each year, we're out there drumming up operational funds to do additional projects through grant funding. And then, of course, there's this big component of leverage through volunteers. If you really value their time and the hours they put in each year, which is, I'll get to those figures, but it's right around 10,000 hours, if I remember from memory, but I might have to adjust it. That comes out to be about $840 additional $1,000. So really a lot of time and person power out there kind of making these programs happen. And I love hearing from the MGMRCs to begin with, because you really see what that looks like on the ground. You see how many people are involved in all these different pieces, whereas these are just kind of summary numbers. What's the right amount of volunteer hours? What's the right amount of workshops? What's the right amount of volunteers? There can be too much. So whereas where we have fluctuated throughout the years, the graph on the left shows in the gray line volunteer hours. The crimson bars show the volunteers themselves. We had a spike in 2018, back down, of course, through the pandemic, back up, recovering in a lot of programs. And Commissioner Mentzer's question was good. How much is good? Like when you get a figure of, I don't think we're trying to climb forever on these things. Corey can't manage that, and neither can our other volunteer coordinators. I would say where we are at on the left is probably not a bad spot to be, between 800 and 1,000 volunteers across all programs. And then around 20,000 hours, let's say, where we've reset to after the pandemic. I mean, we'll probably grow and there's additional capacity, but it's not like more is always better. We know we need to, Corey has to have a little fun along with the volunteers. So we have to keep her life sane. And the program participants are more like people showing up to events. So we've fluctuated between 4,000 and 6,000 at a peak of around 8,000. In 2017 of people showing up, taking trainings, going out in the field, doing seeding workshops, doing restoration events. Those are people who are kind of coming out that we're drawing out from within the community. So, and then of course, cumulatively, when you total up those people showing up to events, that number gets really big. So even if you're stable, your number is stable from year to year, you're always connecting with more people as the programs are sustained. That's good. Yeah.
So in looking at the participants, sort of the trend of that, it looked like it was kind of trending down on an annual basis even before COVID. So
Yeah.
was there something happening behind that?
Most likely it's just happenstance, you know, but I have been conscientious when we started talking about tracking numbers. I was hired in April of 2016, and I could go back to 2013 to get numbers. That's what we had them back to. And I started mentioning to programs, tell me how much is too much. You know, we need to start pushing your programs down in numbers. And I talked a little bit about that, not only with Corey, but about all the program leads, and said, you might want to do less this year. Because when I came in, it was really apparent, and it still is. It's a pretty stressful job being a program lead with an extension. It's long hours. They're very rewarding hours with everybody we get to work with. But I wouldn't say that I'm responsible for pushing that down. That could be one factor, but I certainly encouraged us to think about, you know, maybe 10, 15% down, you know, is good. So,
Also, that year, we changed training formats also, which in that case did have some repercussions for people and access at that point. So they had to reevaluate whether
Yeah.
that was it, so.
and that continues to happen.
Correct.
The volunteer reporting requirements, speaking to Commissioner Edwards' bureaucratic comment, is very real, and we don't like it. You know, it's like there's more hoops for people to jump through all the time, and they just want to give back to their community. So we're in pretty regular debate with that, with WSU on that. I don't think we make a lot of headway, but we try. So I'll give some photos and a few impacts across the program for a few minutes and leave a few minutes still for questions. But moving into the 4-H program. 4-H, as folks know, is a youth development and leadership organization, very much focused on giving youth the opportunity to grow as youth in healthy ways, because there's obviously a lot of pressures in society. Very much science-based curriculum that's delivered. Focus across the board when it comes to types of learning. We have formal education, informal education, science-based education, hands-on based education, working with livestock, working with science, math, engineering. So really trying to, 4-H is a program that's really kind of evolving rapidly. We sometimes think of it in terms of clubs, but increasingly, in addition to the clubs for whether it's raising sheep or doing STEM activities or making wreaths, we have a lot of after-school activities. For a time, the 4-H program was partnering up with public health and social services, working on a prevention program. I know that there's some shifts in terms of that contract within public health. It got too onerous. They're looking for another fiscal agent. But we really liked public participating with Chris Hawken when he was running that program within public health. So that kind of like, you know, prevention element is a component of 4-H. There's a lot of potential, and we do a lot of work there. In 2022 and coming into this year, of course, a lot of the big emphasis has been rebuilding the volunteer cohort. We saw a dip in 4-H as well. Nice to see 4 new clubs spring up in 2022. And what we call an unlimited club, which is like a kind of a multi-variety club. So it might be that youth don't have a horse because it costs a lot. It's a big investment, but they can show up and they can do craft projects. They can do engineering projects, and we can kind of be unrestricted, so to speak, in terms of the content that they can cover. We did have a topic-specific club in the way of shooting sports, which has been really popular. I don't know if anybody got to see the archery demonstration at the county fair, but it was the first ever, and there'll be another one in 2023, or in 2024, so that'll keep going. So that was actually in 2023 that they did the archery, but the club for shooting sports was founded in 2022. We had the Yelm Nerd Herd. That's another multi-interest club. And then we had a topic-specific club formed in Tenino, which is the Legacy 4-H. So that's really neat to see. For context, right around 300 youth participate through both clubs and after-school activities throughout the year. About 70 volunteers in the way of adults. That number's down quite a lot. So Emily Colleen, who's our program lead within 4-H, is really working on building those volunteer numbers, and she's been growing her cohort. So that's a little bit about 4-H. We see a STEM project on the left, some kids building wreaths and snowmen out of socks in the middle, and then a sheep showing at the county fair on the right. On the left is learning how to show poultry in the run up to the county fair. And then Archery World is hosting our shooting sports program out there on, I want to say, Martin Way. So yeah, really neat new programs that are building up. Water Resources Program. Corey was clear to point out the importance of the hands-on elements to 4-H. We bring in gnomes, we bring pancake mix, we bring seeds. you know, whenever we're teaching and engaging the community, we want them to be doing something, and they want to be doing something. That's the value of the programming that we try to put on. When we put on exhibits at the county fair, we want people to stop and do something. We want them to have fun. So all these folks are doing they're learning how to seed native plants for the Native Plant and Water Resources Program. So Erica Gutman is our program lead within that program. They run a variety of programs. Some of them are a bit similar to the Master Gardeners. They have a plant nursery. But then their implementation projects are restoration and oriented. So a lot of trail maintenance, a lot of native plant salvage. So when a developer goes out and is going to develop a site, they'll go out and actually collect all the native plants, take them back to the nursery, propagate them, divide them, multiply them. And then also fund a lot of their operations through a native plant sale every year. So overall, kind of like impact area within the native plant salvage program. Erica ran right around 130 events, so that's kind of a combination of educational workshops and restoration activity. I think this is particularly incredible. Threaded 12,000 plants to 800 households within Thurston County. So people doing restoration in their backyards. One of the big themes to our work as we urbanize in this region is make urban areas look natural, right? How much habitat can we integrate into our lived spaces? So having programs that have that capacity to distribute native plants is really positive. Let's do a slideshow of pictures to wrap it up. We're starting to run short on time. This is our cohort there. We've got a restoration event on the left with water resources. This is a rain garden that's being installed on the right, doing a native plant salvage. Our SNAP Ed program, I'll just say one word without having to put in salary to the program. We get funding through the state healthcare authority to run this nutrition education program. So you provide office space and support, but we get all of the salary for one and a part of another person doing direct education at farmers markets, pantry, food rescue programs, and helping kids kind of form those healthy eating habits that are going to stay with them for the rest of their lives. Amanda Musser is our program lead in this area. On the left, she's doing a demonstration at Garfield Elementary. On the right, doing a food rescue at a farmer's market to redistribute to a food pantry. And then the agriculture program, I will just say, I do a variety of work. Two big areas that relate to work that you've supported. Certainly seeing opportunities to provide business development for farmers within the county. So I do a lot of work with the Southwest Washington Growers Co-op and the Food Hub. And then I do a lot of work associated with habitat where it interfaces with agriculture, and of course supporting work with the Habitat Conservation Plan. The example being grazing land that can have habitat value on prairies is kind of the key example. On the left, a volunteer, again, celebrating volunteers, packing at the Food Hub. Would love to have any of you down to spend a day packing boxes. The Food Hub, it's really fun. Went from zero revenue a couple years ago to $230,000 in 2022, going to $300,000 this year. The grain pool side of that organization just shipped out 4 million pounds of malting barley over the last 3 months. That's within the overall growers cooperative. So as we talk about protecting farmland, my role is how do we create business opportunities for farms that allow them to stay on the land. And thank you very much for your work supporting the American Rescue Plan Act. So on the left is a farmer at Piece by Piece Farm with equipment they were able to get to make their operation more labor efficient through the direct grants that were provided from the county. And on the right, the Tenina Food Bank was one of 4 recipients that received $100,000 for market recovery, but also to support food insecurity during the pandemic. Family Education Support Services, Safe Place, and Senior Services for South Sound were the other 4 organizational recipients of funds that you allocated through the ARPA. So thank you for all that. And thanks for your time this morning. And we'll take any questions.
Is that me?
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Edwards?
Do you work with our stream team?
Yeah, the Native Plant Salvage Program has at various times had partnerships with Stream Team.
No,
So that's why I'm at the table. As the director, Joshua Cummings, Director of CPED, Community Planning and Economic Development. Our role is to connect the connection for the WSU and to champion and to collaborate. And WSU and all the different programs have been an excellent partner through all the different county programs that we have, and then reaching out to farmers for HCP conversations, all the different uses in terms of the land acquisitions, the CPA 16 that you're working on with the community-driven agriculture. WSU has been at the table. So from our perspective, the great work that's done by all of these groups in our community is extremely valuable. We appreciate the partnership.
Well, I don't think I have any more questions per se, because a great presentation. But I just want to take this opportunity to thank not only our presenters today, but those folks that came in representing the Master Gardeners. Thank you very much for all you do, because I think in the end, this is, I mean, it's really gonna pay off as times start getting tough. We ought to have smarter people out there that can help others along, because I think we got tough times coming someday, maybe not in my lifetime, but you're passing all that information on to others, so thank you very much.
Do you want to try and get a picture with all those folks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer?
This is a random question, but since you took a whole page on the Smith-Lever Act, including quoting its purposes, I'm just wondering, it mentions in here, in order to aid in diffusing among the people of the United States useful and practical information on subjects relating to agriculture, uses of solar energy with respect to agriculture, home economics, and rural energy, and to encourage application of the same so 2 mentions of the word energy there.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, does that ever fit into programs in other parts of the state, or is that something that was kind of we've moved on from that kind of goal, or I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, good question. The WSU has an energy program that's moved into, and it's actually based in Olympia. And we collaborate with them variously across extension and into the energy program. I can't remember trace back where they're housed within, if it's within the overall umbrella of extension or if it's connected yet. But at any rate, there is collaboration there. We do also support programs like Rural Energy for America, which are eligible for rural landowners and farmers, so there's some time in there. And that we would certainly collaborate with the energy program and the funders of that, REAP program. Those are oftentimes implemented through the Conservation District, but will help drum up interest in it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, and thank all of you.
Well,
So-
thank you. Thank you all so much for coming. I don't have any questions, but
Photo would be.
I'm really excited to try this, and I might be a tester and see if we can have this for our commissioners' pancake breakfast at the fair.
It's 3/4 wheat flour and 1/4 buckwheat, so it's not gluten-free. So we're
Okay.
testing the ratios, but just as a heads up.
So I'll be a taste tester. But thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for really donating all that time that you do. It's really impressive to see it's 9, full-time and,
just for our
yeah, it's incredible the amount of hours that all of you put into this. So just thank you really so much for really, we saw so much food insecurity. We saw, I think, the community's vision shift when it comes to food and to growing it more in their homes and seeing how they can do that. So I think this program is definitely essential, and having people who understand and are knowledgeable and provide those facts, I think it is really important too in our community. Okay, it is 10:59.
We'd like to have a picture with the
Yes,
gnomes. Yeah.
perfect.
You.
And we connected with the gnomes because gnomes are such a hot topic right now. And so at the fairgrounds, I can't tell you how many times people wanted to buy them, or we had one kid come in and take them all off the table and run out the building. So he was like, and his mom's like, get them back there. But it's a way as a conversation starter.
Okay, well, adjourn and take a picture, so.